Hey, welcome to the channel. My name's Mike, and in this video, I'll be showing you step by step how to build a beautiful professional website using Squarespace. Now, I've built dozens or hundreds of websites using every different kind of website builder you can think of. I've used easy ones, I've done it the hard way, and by far, one of the best, most robust, and easiest ways to do it is with Squarespace. And so in this video, I'm going to show you every step you need to know to build yourself a website rather than going out and hiring a developer. A lot of people think you need to pay $10,000 to get a website made. The truth is, you can spend very little money using Squarespace and you can build the website yourself, which allows you to customize it exactly how you want. You don't need to worry about knowing any kind of coding, any kind of technical stuff. I'm going to show you everything in this video, and it really is as simple as just clicking, dragging, and dropping. And if you're able to do literally anything on a computer, like watch this video, for example, you already have the skills required to use Squarespace. It really is that easy. So it doesn't matter if you're making one for a business or a personal portfolio, or maybe you're making a blog, or maybe you're just making something for like a fundraiser or a website for fun. Whatever it might be, I'm going to show you every tool that you need to know in Squarespace to not only make a really beautiful website, but also start ranking on Google as well. Because ultimately, especially if you're a business, one of the reasons you want a website is so that you can have people find you on Google and start coming to your business and start getting more clients or customers or whatever it might be. All right, so let's get into this tutorial. Starting off on whatever browser you like to use, we're going to go to santrelmedia.com/Squarespace. Or you can click on the link in the top of the description. It will make that open in a new tab. That way we're all starting off from exactly the same page. So I'm gonna hit enter right here. That'll take us to this page right here. We're gonna click on get started. And from here, it's going to ask us some questions about what kind of site we're making. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to make a demo site, just a little example site, and it's going to be one about, let's just say coffee, right? Maybe I'm selling coffee, or maybe it's a coffee blog, whatever it might be, but it's going to ask us what our site is about. So we can describe it right here, or we can find something that makes sense. So I'm gonna say, mine's about food. Maybe it's like a blog about recipes or something like that. So we're gonna say next, and keep in mind, this doesn't really matter that much. So if you choose something and you regret your choice, we can always change all of this later on. It really is very easy to edit. So now we're gonna say, what are your goals here? I'm going to maybe make, let's see what we have. We can sell services, sell online courses, collect donations. So this is kind of asking like, what is the purpose of your website in general? And so I'm going to say, I'm just gonna publish a blog or other media. That's what I'm doing, but of course, choose whatever makes sense for you. Then say next, we're gonna say, where are we in the process? Let's just say that right now we're looking to make something. We're just starting out. Let's just say right here, we're formalizing an idea. So we can say finish, and now it's going to ask us to choose a template. Now, the templates you're seeing are going to be different based on what category or topic you chose and what type of website you're actually making. So I'm doing a blog about food, and it's going to show me a lot of templates that already just look really, really nice. So this is showing you that you don't have to start from scratch. You can start off with any one of these templates, and like let's preview this one right here. So you hover over it and click on preview. And we can have this website instantly just by saying start with this design. And then from there, all we're gonna have to do is change the text to our text, maybe change the font if you want, maybe change the colors, and maybe change some photos in there. But once you find a really nice looking template, it's gonna make it a lot easier for you to build the website with far less effort. So I really do like this one. The colors, I think I would change that. I don't know if the green really works with a coffee one, but again, that's very easy to change. Let's go back and see if there's any other ones that make sense for us. I think I'm gonna go with this one right here. Of course, there are other ones down below, and you can always change. You can say, you know what, maybe you're not finding one in food. Maybe you wanna go to like restaurants or any other topic. You're gonna find different templates there, and you can still change it. It doesn't matter. You can make a food website that is built on a fashion template, right? It doesn't really matter. You can change all of that very easily. But I'm gonna go with this one right here. I do like this one, so we're gonna say start. And now it's going to ask us to create our account. So our account, we can either continue with Apple or Google. I'm gonna create one with an email. So we're gonna start off with my name. So we have an account. Now we need a name for our website. So I'm gonna say this is Mike's Coffee Blog. Mike's Coffee Corner. I don't know, whatever. We're gonna call it that, Mike's Coffee Corner. Just a blog about different roasting, I don't know, whatever, something like that. let's say continue, and it's going to show us kind of a quick little thing here. I'm going to skip this and just close it because I will show you all of the stuff that you need to see here. But that's just kind of, if you're new to Squarespace, those would be some quick things. So that brings us to our new website. And we're going to spend a lot of time on this page right here, essentially editing and building our website. So this interface on the left side, you can see we have a menu. I'm going to walk through what all of those do in a second. On the top, we have some really key settings here. So we can go to edit mode. We can toggle between mobile and desktop view. And then the middle, this is actually our website. It's interactive right now because we're not in the editor mode. I'll show you that in a second. And we have our little assistant popping up suggesting we do some different things. So we're going to go through those things. You don't really need this. I'm going to close out of that right now. So you can interact with your website. Let's just go back to home by clicking on our logo. And from here, this is our homepage. Let's view it in the mobile view. So if somebody's visiting your website on a phone, this is what it would look like. And so this is really going to be important to check between the two because depending on how you lay out your website, sometimes you have an image above text or the other way around, and it's going to look slightly different. And you might have 50-50. You might have half your viewers on mobile and half on desktop. So we're going to be toggling between that quite a bit throughout this video. So before we get into the left side, we're going to dive into all of those a little bit later in this video. Let's start off just by some of the fundamental editing tools with this home page here. So if we click on the edit button, that'll toggle us into editor mode, which is going to allow us to actually change what's on the page. So let's click on edit. And from here, it's going to give you a full screen layout. It might pop up with something. You can just close out of that right away because I'm going to show you how the editor works here. But essentially, this is using something called a section layout, which is a very common layout for a lot of modern websites, where essentially you have kind of banners across the entire page, like this entire section here. You have this entire section right here. This whole thing, everything outlined in blue is one big section, and within that section, you've got a lot of little components. And we're going to talk about how to add those different components and move them around, but you just have these general macro sections. So if we want to have another section, we can go and click on Add Section, and it's going to add a section between two sections. Now, this one right here, you can see we have quite a few different options for what that section would be. It could be something from maybe we want a quote in there, maybe we want to have a video, a contact us, donation. There's a lot of different subcategories for how you can have these, but let's just say we want a section about our social media. And from here, we can have something like it'll show up our entire Instagram. I think this is probably a little bit more, something really basic, whatever. We're just going to show this one. So I'm going to click on this one, and it'll add that in right there. So each one is going to be a link. This is not the most aesthetic, but each one's going to link out to our Twitter, our Instagram, and our Facebook as well. So that's how you can go and add those. Now, let's just say if you like a section, so let's just say, I really like this section right here, but I really want this section to be above this section. The way you would do that is actually by moving the section with this little button right on this right side. So we can click on up, it'll move it up, and it just rearranges one section above the other, or you can move it back down, move it to the bottom, right? We can just keep moving them around, and you can see that it's pretty intuitive. It's pretty easy to go about doing this. So I'm gonna put it back where it was. We're gonna put it up, and I think it was right there. Additionally, if you like this, but you want to have something slightly different, maybe you want to have two sections that are very similar, and rather than rebuilding another section, once you get the color and the text and everything really ironed out, we can just go and duplicate the section with the little copy button there. That makes a second section. Now, I don't actually need this, so I'm going to delete it. Obviously, the trash can is how you go about doing that. So that's how you can move around and arrange the general sections. Now, within a section, if you want to actually edit that, let's just say this section right here. I'm going to click on Edit Section, and you can see that we have a grid layout. This is something relatively new with Squarespace. If you've seen any older tutorials on Squarespace, they did not have this. Squarespace was a lot more rigid before. Things really had to be exactly where Squarespace wanted them to be, but now it's much more flexible, and you can move, for example, this photo anywhere you want here. So if I say instead of the corner, I want to put it up right there, I can do that, and now it's there. Additionally, we can change the size of it just like that, and we can make it really whatever shape or size we want. And so clicking and dragging things allows you to customize this much, much more than we ever were able to before. But at the same time, it's still very responsive. So if we go and toggle over to the mobile view, you'll see that everything still looks really good. And we can also edit mobile view differently a little bit, and I'll show you that once we get there. But let's talk about editing this section a little bit more. So clicking on Edit Section, we've got some settings on the right side. So we have how many rows we want, and this is going to essentially be how long this section is. So right now we've got 15 rows, but if you want this section to be longer, we can just add more rows on there. Similarly, we can have a section that has gaps in there or doesn't have gaps. So if we want it gapless, everything's a little bit tighter. You can have two pictures touching side by side, or you can have a gap and that'll have a little bit of a space between different elements. A button and a photo won't be touching each other. It's really just a style choice. If we click on the three dots, it'll allow you to customize a little bit more about how these gaps actually work. So maybe we don't have a vertical gap, but we do have a horizontal gap. And that is how you'd edit that, just by clicking on those three dots and then moving these sliders back and forth. Similarly, if we go down here, it says fill screen. We can fill the screen or not fill the screen, and that's essentially going to just change the overall size and layout of this section here. If we go to fill screen, we can choose the height if we want it small, medium, or large, and we can choose how we want things to be aligned. So we can have it aligned to the top, the bottom, or the middle, and that's essentially going to be how much margin or padding, so to speak, is around the entire thing. So that's like the fundamental setting for, those are the fundamental settings for how to edit a single section, but let's talk about the background and the colors. Now, the background here, this is just a plain color. This is just a flat color right now, but there's a lot of other options here. So it gave us a little pop-up there talking about background animations, but you can see right here we have just a plain green background. Now, if you don't want that, you can add an image, we can look at video, or we can look at art. So if you're just looking at art, for example, maybe we want like this, for example, to be in the background. That's a little bit weird, a little bit much. I don't know if that really makes sense for this. It is also moving. You'll notice that it's moving around, which could be a subtle way to kind of improve engagement. If somebody's on your website for a long time, a subtle movement might make it a little bit more appealing. But we can also change the settings here and choose what the motion is. If we want it to go slower, maybe like 0.5 speed, very, very slow motion. And so some other things tied in with that. Now, I'm not going to dive too deep into the motion things in the background. I think a lot of people probably won't care as much about that. I also haven't personally tested the load speed on that, but I would imagine it's not going to make it faster for your website to load, which is not necessarily great for ranking in Google, but you still can rank with this. It's just, if you're really focused on ranking in Google, you might want something a little bit simpler than a motion background. But for the sake of this video, let's keep this. I think it actually does look really cool, but let's change the colors a little bit. So the background color, or the shape color, we kind of have a green theme on this website. So let's go and add the green one right there. And of course, the background color, we can add that. We can use that as our darker color. That looks really cool, but that's, again, a little bit weird for a coffee thing, which reminds me, we have not actually set our color scheme for this website yet. So now before we go any further in this video, I want to go up to the top left, click on Done, or hover over Done and click on Save. You want to make sure you're doing this as frequently as possible. And now before we continue doing any more editing, the website is kind of limiting right now. We can't actually have the full suite of Squarespace's features because we're on their 14-day free trial. So on the bottom, we can click on the little blue button that says subscribe. So we'll click on that, and that's going to show us a couple different plans. Squarespace, like I said, is one of the more affordable options out there, not having to hire somebody to make your website, but there is still a monthly fee associated with that. But the good news is it kind of bundles everything into just one fee. So you can see right here, we're getting a free custom domain, we're getting SSL security. SSL is essentially the lock icon we have on the top. That means our website is encrypted, it's safe for people to visit. It also gives you unlimited bandwidth, a certain amount of video storage, SEO tools, and things like that. But each plan does come with some things that are slightly different. So if we scroll down far enough, a professional email from Google, that would be like mike@mikescoffeeshop.com, right? You could do that and you'd run it through Gmail. So it's not a Gmail address, but it's running through the Gmail interface. So it's very easy, very familiar. You can use a Gmail app on your phone. That's convenient. You could still get the personal one and just upgrade to that later if you wanted. But regardless, it's something that you do get with the more expensive three options. Similar as we go down, transaction fees, if you're trying to sell stuff, that's where Commerce and Commerce Advanced would actually be more beneficial. They're giving you lower transaction fees down to actually 0. And they're giving you things like point of sale. So if you want to sell something in real life, somebody can just give you their credit card and just do it very easily with point of sale. And of course, a lot of other e-commerce stuff down below. We can dive into that in another video. If you guys want to know how to sell things on Squarespace, leave a comment below and I'll consider making that video in the future. Again, it's something I've done in the past. I've actually worked with so many different Squarespace websites, but for simplicity right now, we're going to continue on with a blog website. So because we're not doing a full-blown e-commerce site, that kind of narrows it down to either personal or business. Now, between the two of them, I think I recommend for most people to go with business because you're getting two main benefits. Like, yes, it also comes with the option to do e-commerce. Maybe down the road, you might want to sell some things on there, but the two big things it comes with, the first one is a professional email from Google, and it's free for the first year. After that, you will have to pay for it, but it is something that is A full year of that is worth a lot of money, and I think that's a great advantage of getting the business model here, or the business version. Again, as a business owner myself, when I get emails from a Gmail account, I'm way less likely to take them seriously, versus if they are like Mike at localplumbing.com, I think that's substantially more serious, way less likely to be a scammer, and I'm much more likely to engage with that account. So I think if you're running a business, it only makes sense that you go with a professional email. Do you have to do it through Google? No, there's other ones out there, but Google is one of the easiest and most robust ways to do that. The second thing that it comes with is the premium integration blocks. I'll show you those a little bit more in the editor, but that's why for the purposes of this, I'm going to go with the business one right here. So we're going to click on select. It's charging us $276. That's for the entire year. And again, it's coming with the email, that's coming with the domain, a lot of things bundled into that. So I'm going to type in my credit card, my address, and click on save and continue. Now, once you've submitted that, it'll tell you you're ready to launch your site. We'll actually want to get our domain right now. So we're going to click on get a free domain for a year. You could find a domain elsewhere, and that's something some people do. It is a little bit more cumbersome to go and point the domain over here with the DNS, but it's definitely still possible. So you could either use a domain you own, like I said, if you're going to point it to this website, or you can get a domain directly through Squarespace. It comes for free for the first year anyway, and then after that, it's really not that different. Maybe it's an extra dollar or two versus Google domains or Namecheap. So I usually just find it easy enough to just go directly through Squarespace. So I'm going to click on get a domain so that we're not like Helix Pufferfish 9.squarespace.com, right? We want something a little better than that. So mikescoffeecorner.com, it looks like it is actually available. You could search for any other domain, or you can go on Google Domains and look at what domains are available there. Sometimes Google is a little bit easier to find different domains, but regardless, I think this right here is exactly what we want. So I'm going to say check out, even though it is free, so there's nothing really to check out with. It's just going to ask for some contact information about us. So this is right now, Whois privacy is included with Squarespace, which means that if somebody goes to Whois and looks up your domain, they won't find your address. They'll find like essentially a little privacy thing. They'll find something Squarespace puts there. But regardless, they still need to know your address when you're registering it. So we have to put that in right now. Then we can click on save and continue. We'll confirm the payment of $0, but that's just letting you know that eventually you will be renewing it for $20 per year, but right now it's $0. Now, $20 per year is a little bit higher. I said it was about $1 higher. I think it is actually probably a bit cheaper. If we go to, let's see, domains.google.com, and we look, usually it's like $12 a year at Google. So let's say mikescoffeecorner.com, and it should be, I'm going to guess like $12 a year. Let's see what they say. It looks like, yeah, got it. Yep, $12 a year. So you're going to pay an extra $8 for that convenience every single year. If you want to point it, you can definitely do that. It'll save you a couple dollars, but like I said, it's free the first year anyway, so I'm just going to do this. And you can always change where your domain is later. So I'm going to stick with this one for now. It's going to say we're going to skip that, and we're back to editing our website. So we have our domain. It's going to take a couple minutes until that's actually there. And of course, right now our website is private as well. So remember I said we want to check out our website on different computers, different devices. So we will want to publish our website. So I'm going to say publish your site. Right now we're going to make it public so anybody can see this. You can also password protect it. Again, if you're kind of rolling out a new version of your site and you don't want people to see some back-end stuff or have any kind of weird purchases or glitches, you could password protect it until you're done. No one's going to find this website because I'm a brand new entity right here. It's not like a big business, so I'm just going to publish it as a public site. That's going to be just fine for me right now. So we're going to publish that, say save, and we can copy that. We'll say done. And now our website is an official website that exists on the internet. So let's click on back to settings, click on back to home, and that'll bring us to where we were. So let's open a new tab or a new incognito tab. We're going to paste that, and you can see right here, that's our website. So mikescoffeecorner.com. It's now a legitimate website. It says not secure, so we'll have to set up SSL, which is free, but we have to actually turn that on. And our website is exactly what we've been editing. Now let's get back to the editor and continue on with that. So we're going to click on edit and get back to making this a little bit better. Which, that reminds me that we haven't actually set the color theme for this template yet. So let's actually go over to colors, and from here, we can click on theme editor, and it'll take us out to a theme editor where we can choose site-wide what we want our colors to actually be. So let's just say if we have a logo that, I don't know, if it's coffee themed, we probably have like a brown in there, probably have like a black and a light gray in there as well. Maybe you want green as well, but let's just see what it looks like if we have like a dark brown. So if we go to custom, we can find like a darker brown. So I almost feel like that actually looks pretty good right there. So let's keep that one. That's a good section background. Kind of a good coffee color in my opinion. All right, so you can go through the colors. There's a million different things that need to have a color. You want to keep it in generally like 4 or 5 different colors, a pretty typical color palette. But you know, looking at this, you can see that there are just infinite things that you need, like the link, the image overlay, the title background, all these little different things that your website might not even have right now. They all need to have a different color, and you can change all of those colors, the site-wide theme colors in the background from that right there, or we can edit them when we're actually working on the website. So let's go back to colors. So that's our palette right now. So we now have dark 2 is slightly different. Dark 1 is going to be still that dark green. Again, not a perfect palette, but we're going to continue on. You get the idea of how we can actually go about editing that. So let's go back to site styles. We're going to click on close for a little pop-up. And from here, let's go into our font. So you can see our fonts are maybe not perfect what you want. And again, this is where I said that choosing a template that had similar fonts would make it a lot easier, but definitely is not a necessity in the beginning because we can change it very easily. So looking at this font pack, we can switch right now. We can have any different font pack we want. And so maybe we want Kepler. Maybe I want this one right here. We can check that out. That one maybe is a little bit more readable, but it might not have the same like coffee shop kind of feel to it. Maybe Orpheus Pro. That one looks pretty good, I think. I don't know, there's a ton of them. Go through these and figure out which one makes the most sense for your website. And once you find one that you like, just stick with it and click on back. Now from here, we can change some other things like paragraphs, what are they going to use, miscellaneous things, and buttons, what kind of text are they going to use, and you can change all of that right here. Going back to site styles again, we did fonts, we did colors, animations is a big one. Right now, it's going to fade between different pages, and when you open up different things, you could have it clip or scale or flex, or just do nothing if you want it to be a little bit of a cleaner one. I'm going to keep fade. That's going to be fine for most websites out there. A lot of websites do that anyway, and most people don't even realize that that's happening. Spacing is another one. We can have the page width and the site margin. So if you want to have it a little bit narrower, you could do that. And again, this just depends on where you think people are going to be viewing it. And additionally, how you want it to look when they're viewing it on those different devices. Because different devices have different aspect ratios. My laptop is very different from my desktop. Now, let's actually close out of site styles. We can click on close. But if you ever want to access site styles later on, it's very easy to do. Like I said, either by editing the section and going to theme editor, or more easily, you can just go up to the top right next to the desktop and mobile view. It's a little paintbrush that brings you right into site styles where you can change the fonts and colors and everything I just showed you. So that's how we do that. Let's go back down to that real funky looking one that moves around a lot. This one, let's click on edit section again. And so this section, we talked about the colors, we talked about the background, we talked about the formats. There's nothing really in settings that we have left to do. But the elements within here are something that we want to change around. So if we want to have, for example, this right here, we can click on any element in here and we can move it to wherever we want. So we can move it over right here and suddenly it's behind that one. Now, if you don't want it to be behind, you want to change the arrangement, we can click on this little button right here, which says move forward. Or we can click on the other one, moves backward. As you have more things stacked, you can move them forward and back until you have text on top of images or images on top of buttons or whatever you want, like backgrounds. You can move things forward and backward very, very intuitively right there. We can also align it vertically. So if we can change, we can have the text in there kind of centered vertically. We can match it to the bottom, or we can have it match to the top. So that's how you can move around where the text is within the box. I'm going to put it in the center. And if we actually click on that, you have a pretty standard text option up top where you can add bold, we can add a link in there. So if we want this specific text to link out to another page on our website, or maybe to, let's just say, our YouTube channel, we can click on the little link button, and here it asks us where we want to actually link to. And if you click on the little gear icon right there, I did that a little quickly. If you click on the gear icon, you can go and choose where you want the link to actually go. So we can have it go to an email, which is really cool if it's just my contact information. Somebody will click on that, it'll automatically open up their email application or whatever it is on their browser, and they'll be able to send an email to me very easily. We can have a web address, like I said, might just be like my YouTube channel. Just like that, and we can have that open in a new window. So maybe that's what you want. You can have it a file, which is great if you want somebody to like, hey, download, this is my MP3 file, this is like a song that I made, whatever, or it could be a PDF. That could be right there. We could also have a page within this website or a phone as well. And I'm going to click save just with YouTube channel right there. And we can change really everything you want about this. I'm going to change the alignment of that by clicking this. I want it to be centered. and I want it to be, I'd rather have it all be a little bit larger. So we can have it, right now it's a heading 4, we can make it a heading 3. Again, that makes it a little bit bigger. And let's make this not kind of offset, so get rid of that space so it's perfectly stacked. And from here, we can go and change the color, and I think that needs to be white so it's more readable. Okay, so there we go. That's still, let's move it up now. There we go, can move it up a little bit. Now it's very readable, very easy to edit all of that stuff. But again, all you have to do is click on an element, drag it to whatever size or shape you want. So we can do that shape right there, and we can have this maybe right over there, right above her shoulder. And that could be a very easy way to edit anything. Over on the right side, same thing with these. If we click on this, you can double click on it, you can highlight everything, and you can change whatever you want about it, but sometimes you want different settings. But maybe like this text is kind of hard to read on that background. So maybe we want a background within this text box. And the way to do that would be to click on the word text, and we can click on the little pencil icon to edit that. We can add a background here. In this background, again, we can have a radius on there, so that'll give you a nice little rounded corner, and we can add these the radii to whatever you want. All 4 corners looks good to me. We can have padding on here, small, medium, large, top and bottom. We can change what that is, so I'm gonna make that a little bit smaller, so probably just like that looks good, and add a little bit more on a little bit less on the left and right. That looks good to me. So again, it doesn't look great, but you get the idea. I'm just showing you what the tools are. I wouldn't actually use this background that moves around, but that's how you'd edit a single text box to add some things behind it. But let's say, you know what, okay, cool, you get it. That's how you edit photos, that's how you edit text on there. But what about if you want to add something else to this box? Maybe we want a button down here. How do we add a button? Well, to add a button, what we could simply do is go to the top, and if we hover around here, we should see, so let's click off of that. We should see add block. So if we click on add block, it'll give us a list of all the different types of blocks we can add. So an image is a block, a text box is a block, a title is a block. These are all things, everything here that's outlined in blue when you're hovering around is a block, and they go within a section. So here you can see we can add forms, newsletters, quotes. We can embed different things. So if you have an application that is external and you want to embed that in here, so you can do code right there, you can put that in there. And so that would be, I don't know, some third-party thing that Squarespace doesn't necessarily offer. Going down, we've got scrolling and chart and a lot of different things. Of course, you can scroll through this on your own time, start to figure out what makes sense for you, but you can see that there are also a lot of integrations. We've got menu, we've got Amazon, OpenTable, donation, things like that, that you will have to get premium for. We'll talk about actually getting premium. But other than that, we can go up to the top. Let's just say, like I said, we want to add a button. So if we want to add a button, let's click a button, click and drag that, and we can drop the button wherever we want. We can put that, say, right there. And this button, let's make it a huge button. I don't know, just for fun, see if we can get a giant button there. And the button has the same editing tools as the rest. If you want to click on edit, you can see here, we can choose what the text is going to be. So the text could be download, let's say download my mixtape. And then the link, I'm going to click on this. We're going to make this a file. We can upload a file right now, so click on upload file. And then we can click on save, and now that button is going to download a file for somebody, or at least open it in a new tab. That's an image is what I used, but you could use like a media file, whatever it is, MP3, whatever you want to do. Now if we go to design, we can choose what this button's actually going to look like. Again, the button style is not something you can customize right here. That's going to be in the theme editor. So if I don't like the color of this button, I can simply go up to the theme editor, click on site styles, and say okay right there. We can go to colors, and from here we can go and edit what the color of our buttons is. And so right now, if we go down to buttons, there we go, buttons, we can change the background of the button. So right now we have this color. So I don't know, maybe we want it to be like white, for example, and that's how we could go about changing that. So let's go back to site styles, we'll say close. It looks like I accidentally moved it, so it's covering this up. I'll move it down a little bit. And again, you see how there is that outline box. Depending on how you're viewing this, it's going to move things around a little bit. And so you want to make sure, I always recommend this, view your website on your computer, and also maybe see a friend's computer. If it's a wider screen, a narrower screen, different displays make it look very different. So for some sections like this one, you might notice that there are no blocks in the section. If we click on edit section, there's no images in here, and yet the entire thing has an image. So you might be able to guess what that is. It's actually the background of the entire section. So if we click on edit section, we can go to background. It's currently an image, and we can change, first of all, the positioning of that. So what's like right there, it's gonna move where it is. So if we slide the little dot up here, it'll center it there. We can center it down here, and that's gonna be how you reposition that. But again, this is not the photo that we want there. I mean, it is coffee, which might tie in with this pretty well, but let's say we want our own photo. So we can say replace, and we can upload a file. So we can say upload file. And I don't know, let's just say this photo right here. I don't really have a lot of photos of coffee, so let's just say we're gonna go with this one. We can do, is it the full width? So right now, full bleed, or it can be inset as a smaller photo within there. I'm gonna go full bleed. I think that looks pretty nice with this. We can have an opacity on the overlay. So right now it's overlaid with this dark green. 10% makes the text like a little bit more readable versus like a full saturation and contrast in the background. I usually like keeping the overlays maybe around like 15% for something more vibrant like this. And we can have image effects as well. So this could be something like film grain if you want it to look a little bit older. That's something that is moving though. So some websites, that's really cool. Some it's not. It could just be kind of distract. Let's actually check out some of the other ones as well. So tilt, it looks like this one just kind of, I don't know, it doesn't really look that different to me. Liquid, well, that's too weird. We can't do that. So I don't know, play around with this. If you want something fun, there are some weird, funky things there. I'm just gonna go back to none, or maybe grain. I kind of did like film grain. So we'll leave it as that, okay, right? And so now we can click off of that, and that is that section there. Going down, we've got, of course, this section, which has some information that you can have, what you're doing. And you guys already know how to change all of this text, including buttons and links and things like that. So I'm not gonna bore you with doing that again. Going down, we have down right here, a member sign up, so booking a free consultation. If we click on editing that, it'll tell you what member you want to go into. I'm not making a course in this video, so we can actually just get rid of that. And if we don't like a section, like this little block that we don't want, we can actually click on that and click on the little trash can. So we're going to remove that one, so it no longer needs to exist. Okay, so I think you kind of get the fundamentals of how you can build a specific page here, but this is by no means the end of making your website. A lot of people like to just make their website look pretty, and then they're like, all right, I'm done, I'm ready to go. And then they wonder why their website is slow, why people can't get to their website, why it's not found on Google, why they have a lot of other problems in the background. And I'm gonna dive into all of the important settings you need to know after just doing this. So those are the tools. Let's click on save. And we're actually going to go back, and we still haven't talked about this main interface here. So I talked about how this in the middle is your website, but I didn't talk about what's on the left side. So if we click on pages, this is gonna show us the different pages we have. Now, we can edit where the pages are, or you can just go to individual pages. So if we wanna go to services, we can click on that, it'll navigate us to services. And from here, we can click on edit and edit the services page. Similarly, you could just navigate through your site on the right side here. Like if we want to do the About Us page, I could just click on About, and that would take us over to the About page, and I can edit this from here as well. Or I can click on the logo to go back home. But looking at these, let's say that you want to maybe rearrange them. Maybe you want services on the left, and then you want coaching, and then you want About all the way at the end. Maybe that's not really that important to you, so you want to push it over to the right. The way to do that would actually be to hover over these, click on it, and drag it down. So we can click on it and drag it down below contact, and that'll move it, rearrange these so that the top is on the left side and the bottom is over on the right side. Now, additionally, you'll notice that we do have some subpages under recipes. So if we hover over that, you get some different things popping up. Now, let's say we want to have maybe coaching or services are both underneath recipes, right? The way to do that would be to drag them down and then drag them over to right there. So you see that has a little bar on the left side, we'll let go, and now it's underneath that. Same thing with services, maybe that's gonna be down there as well. And it cleans up your menu on the top, and it makes them all as a drop-down menu there. We could also add other pages that aren't here. So if we want to click on add page, we can make a new page. It could be a blank page. It could be a layout from something in the past. It could be a scheduling page. We could have blog, store, portfolio, events, videos, or just a link that goes to, actually, let's add a link. So let's say that link maybe is your YouTube channel, and this could be your your domain here, or your URL. And we're gonna say save. And that way, right there, it says YouTube channel. So somebody can actually hover over this, click on YouTube channel, and it will open that actually in the same tab. So we don't wanna do that right now. We're gonna go back and start editing this a little bit more. And then down here we have member areas. This is an add-on as indicated by the little blue circle with the triangle in the middle. So if we click on plus right here, it'll tell you that it is like you can select a plan to do this. So if we click on select plan, it's like $9 a month to do the basic one, $18 for, so it kind of goes up from there. And with this could be a great way to, maybe collect emails. There's cheaper and freer ways to collect emails, but this would be a good one, kind of like a Patreon style thing where people can become a member. They can get extra content, special blogs. It could be really whatever you want. They can have additional videos or resources that they're able to download. Really just a private website that they need to be a member to actually sign up for. So I'm not going to do that in this video, but it is something that you definitely could do, and it's really not that hard to do. We've got one-on-one coaching, online courses, live events. Those are 3 things that I don't plan on having for this website. So if you don't like a page, you can simply click on the little trash can next to it, and that will get rid of that. So we're going to delete that one. And these are locked anyway, so we don't even have the membership right now anyway. So I'm going to say get rid of that. Now, let's say that, for example, the services page, we don't really want that up on the top, especially not under recipes. So what we can do is click and drag that, and just drag it all the way down here to the not linked section. So this section here are other pages that we don't have linked, and these could be your home page, which technically is linked by your logo on the top, but it's not in the actual navigation bar. Additionally, you might have like a terms and conditions or something page, and you can have all of that down here, as well as blog posts too. So I'll dive into blog posts, but let's first talk about a little bit more of the search engine optimization and the settings you have with these pages. So let's start off with contact. So we'll click on contact. And from here, it shows you the page, but you don't actually, I didn't really have to do that. I could have just clicked on the gear icon. And from here, in this pop-up, we have the general, the search engine optimization, the social image, and advanced. Starting off with general, this is going to be the page title. So let's say maybe you want it to be contact us instead of contact. Navigation title, we could say contact us, slightly different. The URL slug is essentially what's at the end of the domain. So it'd be mikescoffeecorner.com/contact. And so you want this to be clean and easy to remember. It's good for search engines as well as for people. A readable URL really goes a long way. So we can leave that. We can have an enabled or a disabled page. So if you're still working on it, you can disable the page, or you can password protect it so that only you're able to see it. And additionally, you can duplicate the page. This is a powerful thing if you have like my top website picks, and then you want to make another one that's like my top headphone picks, and you want to have the same format. You can duplicate the page, and that way you just save yourself a lot of work by not having to remake the same page. So let's go down. We have search engine optimization. Obviously, as the name suggests, you are optimizing your website so it can be found in search engines like Google, how to get found on Google essentially. And so this is going to it's not going to guarantee you get found in Google, but it's going to do a couple things here that make it a lot easier for people to click on you when you're in Google, and also for Google to identify what your page is. Now, Google's really smart. They're pretty good at identifying what your page is. The big one here is to make it so that people can see what your page is, so people know what it is, and then they're more likely to click on it. And the more people click on it and they like your website, the more Google is going to show it higher up in search in the future. So like, for example, if I look up coffee recipes and it shows up with something weird like this description will automatically be generated, blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not going to click on that. And Google's going to say, all right, nobody's clicking on this random result we put up there. Let's kick it to the 100th page. This is not relevant. So that's why you want something that's kind of enticing. It's going to have a good click-through rate and is going to be descriptive of what your page actually is. So the title, let's say contact us. So contact us today. I don't know, something like that. Or let's just say how to contact us. Let's say how to contact us. Maybe that's what people look up. And of course, you want to do a little research with your keywords. A good way to do this is actually through trends.google.com. So if you're stuck between like contact us and like contact page, like you don't know what people search more, you can type in both and you see that contact us is way more common than contact page when people are looking, searching things on Google. Not the best example, but in many situations, like if you're looking up earphones versus earbuds, then that would be a good way to figure out what the best word is that's more searched than the other one. So that's something, a quick little tool. It's free to use. I recommend it. Google Trends, trends.google.com. Now the SEO description is this little paragraph down here. Now it's automatically generated based on random paragraphs in your page, but I usually like writing it on my own. So you just add something like that, and you want to have maybe your keyword somewhere in there, but don't load it up with too much of your keyword. But just, once in that little description might be kind of useful. And of course, you could hide it from search results if it's like a more private page or something you only want to link to. You can always do that right down here. Then we can go down to social image. So if somebody shares this on social media, say Facebook, for example, there's going to be a little preview there, and there is going to be an image that's going to pop up, if not one directly from your page. So if I just want to add an image, let's just say maybe this one right here, that's going to be our contact page, and it's just going to be an image of, I don't know, a little cup of coffee with some beans around it. And then if you go down to advanced, this is some extra header code. If you have like some more advanced things like Facebook pixels and things like that, you can add some header code and inject it directly here. I'm not going to do that right now because we don't have any other integrations yet. So let's click on save and go back from there. So that's like the fundamentals of your page navigation, the different pages you have. You can dive into them a little bit more and click on these and figure out what you want to do with courses and blog posts and things like that. Blogs are really, really powerful. You can make different blogs with Squarespace. And of all the website editors or website builders out there, Squarespace does make it relatively easy, actually probably the easiest to actually make a blog. So I'm going to go back to home. Next we have design. Now, design has, you might think, all right, well, we already chose the color and the theme and everything. There's more to it than that. So site styles, yeah, that's what we already did. But what we didn't do is the browser icon, a lock screen, checkout page, 404, and all these other specific pages that usually people don't go to, and it's not one that you want to spend a ton of time designing. But for example, a 404 page, if you had a broken link out there, or if somebody typed in, instead of like mikecoffeecorner.com/contact, they did /contract, or like somehow typed it wrong, then they would end up on the wrong page. They would end up on a 404 page, which you want it to say something like that. So this is one that says like, oh, couldn't find what you're looking for. Sometimes I recommend you could either redirect to another page. So sometimes I make my own 404 page that says, oops, you found the wrong page. Here's some things that we recommend. So that way people can just click on something and keep going through your website, even though they ended up on the 404 page. Because realistically, when you start getting more traffic and you dive into it, a lot more people end up on the 404 page than you really want. And so making it, kind of optimizing that page, I always found to be a really powerful tool, rather than just saying, you screwed up, go away, right? Having buttons on there and sending them to other parts of your website can be a really great tool. So let's go back to design. Of course, we've got other pages. I'm not going to talk too much about those right now, but browser icon is a very important one. So this is going to be your favicon, which, as you can see on the top, is right now just a little square. But if we go to, say, Amazon, you'll see on the top, we've got the little Amazon logo. And so having one for each respective website is really an easy way for browsers to kind of organize themselves and for people to recognize your logo and your tab there. And so having your icon there really goes a long way. So I'm going to upload a file. It has to be really, really tiny. So let's see, this coffee from a previous video, see if that's small enough. I think it might be. Yeah, there we go. That's small enough. So that's going to be showing up there in the future. I'll click on save, and when somebody goes to our website, that's what they'll actually end up seeing. So we're going to go back to design and social sharing. We can add a social logo. I'm not going to do that right now. Access denied screen. That's pretty much everything for the design. Going down to commerce. We're not really selling anything in this video, but I just want to show you guys real quickly. If you're selling things, there's an entire interface here for listing different products, tracking your inventory, tracking your customers, not tracking them, but keeping track of who was a customer before and what their contact information is and what they bought in case they're trying to return something. It's just really a powerful tool there. We also have different integrations with Facebook and Instagram. You could sell directly on Instagram, so people can just go find your Instagram ad and just say buy and just do it all right there. And a lot more than that. But like I said, I can make another video about selling on Squarespace. If you guys want to see that, leave a comment below. We'll talk about that in another video. Marketing is a super, super powerful one. And this is where we get a lot of other integrations because Squarespace plays nicely with so many other brands out there. So within marketing, we have email campaigns, and you can manage your email campaigns through Squarespace. They have their own marketing thing. That's not usually what I do. I usually use something called MailChimp, and you guys can check out my full tutorial on how to use MailChimp. It's free to start. It's very easy up to your first. I think it's like 2,000 contacts are all free. And so it's a great way to kind of bootstrap your business and spend less money. But again, if you want to just have it smoothly integrated with Squarespace with as little effort as possible, you can start you can really start working with Squarespace. They give you, I think, 3 campaigns on the bottom that are free, and then it's going to be a couple dollars per month to actually get those plans. Like I said, MailChimp is free, easy to start, and that's why I usually start off with that. We've got SEO, as I talked about before, the search engine optimization. They have a checklist here, which is also really convenient. I showed you how to do some really basic SEO a couple minutes ago, but in here it'll show you a lot of other things about each individual page. I mean, like I said, that's the basic stuff I showed you, but then down here, we did already add an icon. We added that. We have a 404 page. We reviewed the content, but there's more to it. Like as you get down, they're gonna talk about make sure your content has like alt text on the images. They're going to suggest that you use keywords and design your website a certain way. And it's not as hard as you think. A lot of times just making a better website is going to make Google like your website more, because ultimately Google cares about the end user. They want to be a trusted source. And if I know that when I use Google, I always get good websites that I like, and if I use Bing, I get trashy websites, I'm gonna use Google. So that's why Google wants a user to be happy. So you making a better website that makes people happy makes Google happy and makes you rank higher, so everybody's happy. Just making a simple, better website that answers the questions that the user was actually going to your website for in the first place. So closing out of this, let's go back to marketing. And from here, we've got promotional pop-ups, announcement bars, Instagram stories, Facebook pixel, and ads. So I mentioned Facebook pixel before. It looks like you can actually integrate it just right here. Again, that's going to be more something for e-commerce users that are running ads on Facebook. Same thing, Pinterest save buttons, you can integrate that. I'm not a big Pinterest user, but I know a lot of people love it. It is really powerful, especially for kind of bloggy things, recipes and things like that. Pinterest is definitely a powerful one that I recommend checking out. So let's take a look at promotional pop-up and announcement bar. Announcement bar is easier. Let's start off with that one. And that's going to be something on the top. It could just say like, hey, store-wide sale or something like that. So I'm going to go and enable the announcement bar. Nice little bar across the top. It says this is the announcement. So we're going to say use code Mike for 20% off. And that's, again, e-commerce is when that makes the most sense. But you could just say like happy 4th of July, or like you could, I don't know, whatever you want to have on the little announcement bar. And we can have it also link out to something as well. So if somebody clicks on that, it could go over to something. So I could say like checkout. We could say subscribe to my YouTube channel. There we go. We just do that, right? For example, so if somebody clicks on that, it'll bring us over to the YouTube channel, and they can subscribe if they want. And we can go back to marketing now. And promotional pop-up is another thing I mentioned. And so the pop-up right here, boom, join our mailing list. That's a great example of what to use this for on a blog. You could also have maybe like join our mailing list and you get like 10% off or whatever if you have an email list like that. But again, that is not something that I'm really going to be doing right now. So, you can go down here and change what the content is, change that stuff, change the layout of that, for example. So if we want to have, I think I like this layout. I usually use this layout. I like this one better. So we'll go and save that. And we can go down to, go back to marketing. There we go. And that kind of sums it up for marketing. Going back, we've got scheduling. This is a new feature that Squarespace has. They haven't always had this. And it's something that, I mean, if you're like a dentist or a doctor or a, I don't know, some like a lawyer, somebody like a local business, and you want to have people scheduling with you, rather than always calling you and then, oh, are you free this day? Are you free that day? They can just open this up and have their calendar next to them and just choose a day that works best for them and schedule with you. Now, this is not free. It's $15 a month. So again, it's an extra cost there. But if you need it, or if you think it can really be useful for you, chances are it could definitely be useful for your customers, and is very likely, especially for a younger crowd. A lot of people don't really want to make phone calls. They'd much rather just look on here. It's easier for them. They can multitask while they're at work, while they're in a meeting, whatever, and boom, schedule a dentist appointment just like that. So I'm going to go back to home, and that's essentially scheduling. Like I said, big rabbit hole, really powerful once you get down that, but I'm going to go down to analytics. And this is something that right now, being a new website, is not going to show us really anything, but as you start to get more traffic, ignore sales, we're not selling anything right now, but if you go to traffic, eventually it's going to show a lot more about who visits your website, what the bounce rate is, how long they spend on your website, all these kind of analytics that, as I said before, can give you insight into how much people like your website, what they like about your website, and ultimately, that's going to help you rank higher on Google by knowing what people like and what people don't like. So if people visit your page and they're on there for a very, very, very brief time, and they visit another page and they're on there for a couple minutes, then you know that that page is going to be great. This page, there's something wrong. It's not answering people's questions. Maybe it's not loading right. Maybe it looks bad, and you can optimize it from there. Additionally, you can look at traffic sources and keywords as well, and this is going to help you figure out who your audience is, where they're coming from, and overall, this is going to be a powerful way to figure out how to optimize your website in the future and how to kind of either get more customers or more affiliate traffic or whatever it might be, have a more successful website based on figuring out what does work and what doesn't work. I'm not going to go into profiles, but we can go into settings here. And this, again, has quite a few different things. So we have our domain. We don't have Google Workspace. That is the email that I mentioned before. That would be like mike@mikescoffeecorner.com. And so if we click on Google Workspace, you'll see here that we can actually set it up. We could pay annually or monthly. Right now, we do have 1 year of free Workspace, so it doesn't really matter. I guess you might as well just go with annually because it is free for the first year. And here you're going to choose your name, your username, so it's going to be like mike@mikescoffeecorner.com, and you are getting one account like this for free. And then once you set it up, you can actually go over to Gmail and sign in through Gmail. That means you have a YouTube account, Google Drive with like I think 15 gigabytes of storage, email, and everything else that comes with a Google G Suite, or just Google Workspace is what they now call it. So I'm going to close out of that. I'm not actually doing that at the moment, but that is where you'd find that and how you'd set that up. Going back to settings, we've got site availability. It is public, right? That's what we want. Member areas, I'm not using them right now, but if you want to pay for the subscription, a very powerful tool. We've got language and region. Of course, right now we're in the United States, so that's what I'm going to keep right now. But if you want to have it available in other languages, you could use this right here. If people are using Chrome, they're probably using Google Translate on Chrome anyway, but it is something that can be a powerful way to reach a much wider audience, especially for somebody like a blog. If you're targeting local search, so maybe you are a dog walking business or an accountant, whatever it is, if you're worried about people around you finding you and you're really focusing on local SEO, then you want something called your NAP, or name, address, phone number, so NAP, to be consistent across every different listing you have. And that is your Facebook business page, your Google My Business account, your Angie's List or Yellow Pages, whatever it might be. Everywhere that your business is listed, you want to have the same information. And so to have that the same on your website, you want to go down to business information, make sure you have the right phone number, the email, the physical location, if you have one, of course, your business hours, that's going to be a big one as well. And this is something that you can use throughout your website, but it's something that you really want to make sure that you have consistent between here and those other platforms, as I mentioned, for local SEO purposes, because Google kind of looks at all of them, and once Google realizes they're all the same, Google's more confident in showing that to more people out there, and they're more confident that you're a legitimate source that viewers are going to like going to. Of course, adding social links here will make it really useful for, throughout your website. For example, over here, right there, we've got Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So adding your link right here really goes a long way. So if I just wanted to say like Mike O'Brien, you essentially just say instagram.com/your username. So Mike O'Brien with 2 N's. If you guys want to follow me, go ahead and follow me there. I don't really talk a lot about this kind of stuff on my Instagram, but I do talk a lot about like travel and tech and different things on there. I don't know. Come check me out. DM me if you have any questions about Squarespace as well. As far as YouTube goes, let's say Santrel Media. And if you guys haven't subscribed yet, do consider subscribing. We talk a lot about small business stuff, from legal aspects to setting up websites to marketing. And really, we're expanding. We have a lot of big videos planned for the future. So head on down and click that subscribe button if you guys haven't already. We'll go back to settings. From here, we've got connected accounts, extensions, permissions, domains, Google Workspace, billing, blah, 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 other stuff. But a really big one that I kind of just glossed over right there that is really important is extensions. Now, Squarespace hasn't always been the biggest with having applications and kind of working with others, but that's mostly because they do everything pretty much in-house. But as of maybe a couple years ago, they started doing extensions, and these extensions are going to be essentially little apps or plugins you can have on your website that give you substantially more functionality. So ShipStation is a big one, and this would be a great way if you're doing e-commerce to manage like a lot of things in e-commerce. We've got QuickBooks connector and all these different finance and tax things. Again, if you're doing e-commerce, QuickBooks would be super convenient there to just manage your inventory right there. We've got Printful, especially if you're doing something like drop shipping. If you want to do printed drop shipping, which I do have a full video on how to do that with Printful, you can integrate it right here. And of course, down here, we've got sales and marketing, and this could be email campaigns. But if we go to view all, there's more than just the Squarespace email campaigns as well. As I mentioned before, I really like to use MailChimp, and MailChimp right down there integrates very well with Squarespace. So again, easy to do all of that stuff. We've got translation down here. We've got texting right here. A lot of different things you can have on your website. And all these extensions are kind of categorized over on the left side. So we've got inventory, finance, shipping, and just all extensions in general. And you can see that these really do a lot of different functions. So adding one is as simple as, so let's just say Printful. You click on it, you say connect, and it's going to walk you through that process of logging into your Printful account. We say allow, and then it's going to kind of just merge those two together, make it super easy. All you have to do is log into it now, and it will be automatically connected just like that. So I'm gonna go back out of extensions. Like I said, super powerful. Check them out, or at least browse through them. Not everyone's going to need every extension, and having fewer extensions is usually better. You don't want to have too many. It just gets a little bit confusing and chaotic, but they're great to have. So let's go back to home, and that's pretty much everything that I wanted to show you with the settings. But there is one last thing I want to show you with the editing of your page. I mentioned that, let's just go back to the home page. I mentioned that your mobile site might look a little bit different than your desktop site. Like, you might have things not exactly where you thought they would be. So if I click on mobile site, you'll see maybe, for example, I don't like how much space is right there, or maybe I just don't like this section at all. If we click on edit, you can edit your mobile site separately from your desktop site. And that means that you can have essentially two completely different websites that, I mean, you make one, the other one shows up, but you can customize the mobile site and tweak it without affecting the desktop site, which I think is really, really powerful. So for example, this section right here, if we click on mobile, it might be arranged kind of weird because we did a lot with that section, right? So here you can see nutrition guidance is not on the image. The image is kind of weird and everything's kind of like all skewed around. So we can just click on edit section and we can edit this just for mobile right now. So if we click on the image, we can change the size of that image. We can bring it up to here, all the way up. And of course we can change the arrangement of that so the text is on top. We can move the text over there, make it a little bit smaller. And there we go. So now we have pretty much exactly what we had before, but now it's optimized for mobile. And of course, if we go back to desktop, you'll see it doesn't actually affect desktop. Desktop's doing exactly what it already did. And now mobile's doing its own thing here as well. So editing in mobile, like I said, can really go a long way. If you delete something here though, it will delete it in desktop, so be careful. But I want to point out, if I deleted this, say remove, and say I clicked both of those by accident. I don't know how you do that, but let's just say you did. You can just hit Control Z, or on a Mac it'd be Command Z, and it brings it back. So the undo button is also available on the top left right here, undo and redo. So really a powerful tool if you accidentally make a mistake, as we all do when we're learning to make a website. That's gonna be something that you'll probably end up using quite a bit. So back to desktop view, we're gonna say done. Always make sure you save, make sure your website's published, and of course the last thing to do is to go to Mike's Coffee Corner.com. Make sure our website is looking good, and there it is. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you could just follow this little banner's advice and subscribe to the channel. I wish you all the best of luck with your Squarespace website. It really is a powerful tool, one of the best ways to make a website. I'm excited for you. I really can't wait to see what kind of website you guys make, what kind of success you find on the internet. Leave a comment below with what kind of website you're making and maybe any other questions you have about this. As I said, if you enjoyed the video, consider liking and subscribing. I'm Mike O'Brien from Santrel Media, and I'll see you next time.